Money, how to manage, make, and invest in 2025. That's what we're learning today. We've got the incredible, my Call of Duty online powerhouse best friend, Pete Komalafe. I don't know how many times we've done this podcast, dude, but welcome back, mate. I love doing these with you.
Oh no, it's great to be here, mate, and thanks for the invitation coming back as well. Because like we always get into like real conversation, like no faking it. It's just raw as it is, and that's the way it should be, isn't it?
No script, there is nothing recorded. We love what we talk about, and hopefully people are going to take value from it. So, going to be a good
Indeed.
episode. Dude, we're jumping straight into it. There's no fluffing, there's no swearing as well, because we don't want to affect the YouTube algorithm. And I was so close last time. Maybe I held it together. I can't remember. Dude, managing money, a lot of people have got it wrong. And I think it's like 84% of the UK working adults, they don't even have £1,000 in savings. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people that are complaining that the cost of living is crippling them. But managing it, it doesn't seem like anyone manages their money in the UK all
Hmm.
around the world. But look, how do we manage money?
Look, we shouldn't overcomplicate it. That's the most important thing to start off with. But I think like the key is you need to spend less than you earn. Very, very simple. And within that, you have to make clever decisions around what you're actually spending your money to and on. Um, and fundamentally, that's what it's all about. I think with society as it currently is right now, consumerism, capitalism has taken over, and it's all about buying things and spending money in places to feel good, to look good. And that is not the path to being financially stable or financially secure, or even, being rich or whatever that means to you.
I think the fact that people don't even know how to manage and we're still actually asking the question, well, I don't have any money, what should I be doing? I think that highlights, which we'll come on to, there is a lack of education on how to manage money, but it
Hmm.
literally is what you've said, right? Live on less. Make your money,
Yeah.
go to work, don't live to your salary. And I think that's probably where the downfalls happen, right? Is everyone is now living to their salary and then they can't step away from it, which causes financial dependence on the salary never then going away. But what is the steps essentially to managing money then if someone has got themselves to being salary dependent?
Okay, look, let's just address maybe the elephant in the room because I just know people will be like, well, the cost of living is so high and, my job isn't paying me enough and all this kind of stuff. We'll get round to making money in a moment, right? But fundamentally, you have to know based on what you earn, do you have enough to live on, right? And for some people, they might say, well, no, I haven't. Okay, make more money. We'll talk about that later on. But simply, income, it is a number, 1,000, 2,000, whatever it is. Your bills are also a number. You have compulsory bills that you have to pay for. You have to pay for rent. You have to pay for gas, electric, council tax, right? Those are things that you need to survive. So you've got to pay for those things. That's unquestionable. But here's what happens with a lot of people. They have all these other things that aren't necessities that they go and splurge a lot of money on without really thinking through, is this the best decision for me to make so that I'm not going to be stretched on a monthly basis when it comes to my salary? A prime example of this is, and I say this all the time, cars. You know, you're driving around in an Audi or a BMW that you can't really afford. It's a bit of a stretch because you don't want to be seen in a smaller car like a 1.2 or whatever it might be, because John down the pub might think you're a bit of a loser. Uh, let's just be real here, right? What's more important? Is it the car that you drive or actually having the sense of peace? Because actually, from a financial point of view, I'm sweet and I can do things. I can build from here. There are too many people walking around in designer gear, driving really nice cars that are just broke, but they look like, oh, I'm doing really, really well. I mean, who are you doing this for at the end of the day? And I think there needs to be a psychological shift around what's important and allocating money to the things that are important to you individually on an individual basis.
Yeah, and there's a really important lesson for everyone to learn here is, and I think people learn this when they get older, and I feel like we're already there, and I learned this early on, is
Hmm.
that making of money and the spending of money should only be for you, not anyone else. And I think social media has done a great job of messing around with people's perceptions of what is success and what they should be doing and how they live their life. And I think that's where half this problem has come from. Even if I look back at my last job, I remember some of the managers who were on no more than 38, 40, 45,000, but they would go out and finance the latest Mercedes just because their title and the way that they see themselves and the way that they think people should see a manager is to drive the big Merc coming into work, parking in their designated spot, and all that old bravado of all of it. And that's where I think that's where like loss of identity comes from as well. And that's where the whole money management goes out. So I think for anyone listening in is that money, really the biggest flex is time and freedom, right? And I think that's where we need to get ourselves to. In terms of managing it though, mate, I always talk about the fundamentals are try and minimize debt. And then the
Hmm.
emergency fund. It makes me laugh that there are still so many people who, I don't mean to be rude, but I find somewhat incompetent that they don't realize that the first thing anyone should be doing is not opening up a trading 212. It should be cash stacking for an emergency fund or a rainy
Mate, it's not
day.
sexy. It's not
No,
sexy, mate.
no, it's not.
It's
No,
not sexy. Like on social media, if it's not
no, it's
sexy,
not.
it's not about making money and doing something to increase wealth. It doesn't fly. It does not fly. But the common sense approach. I mean, I used to be a financial advisor, used to sit down with wealthy people and even plan. Do you have enough money in case anything happens with income and you might need some cash quickly? They still have an emergency fund, but these people are still very, very fucking wealthy. Sorry, mate. I'll watch myself, are still really, really wealthy. But it's a point to make. They're still very, very wealthy, but they still have money set aside in case of emergencies. So if it's good enough for the people that you look up to, why is it not good enough for you? Why do you feel that on your little first freaking ladder on the totem pole, you can ignore such a very, very important principle to building and creating financial security? People don't see it because there's so much noise on social media. And I think, you know, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine day before yesterday, right? I've just moved to Dubai. Like, you may think you're a big fish. There's always a bigger fish. Trust me. Like back home, I think, oh yeah, I'm doing really, really well. I move over here and I'm like, whoa. There are people doing stuff on a level that I'm just like, wow, I need to step my game up. You really have to know yourself. What do you want? What's important to you? Not important to John down the pub and your fucking aunt down the street. It's not about that. What's important to you? If you have a good idea of what that is, you're going to feel more secure and more confident in those choices that you make. And those choices that you make are the building blocks to be able to have a long-term financial success. But you cannot live life being subject or being submissive to social media, social pressure, marketing, essentially. That's not going to do you any favors at all. It just isn't.
Yeah, managing money is quite boring. I don't think there's anything sexy about it at all. And I think that's where people are like, especially younger ones, like, well, it's not a trading 212. It's not an eToro. It hasn't got flashy lights and red lines and charts and candlesticks. So it's not really making me any money. And they just poo-poo it. And that's where those really bad habits, I mean, I'm not being funny. 5 years pass, 10 years pass in the workplace. They start going through the reality of they're getting bullied or harassed, and the Groundhog Day sets in, and they're like, I need to leave my job, but I can't because I have nothing to fall back on. So anyone listening, emergency fund first. I'd then fire out. I have a maintenance fund and a floating fund. It's just like three basic ones that I talk about. Although it isn't sexy, what do you think people should be learning about the importance of this? Like, I'm trying to think if we're talking to like younger generation or people who haven't sort of stepped up to the mark in terms of really getting to grips with their finances. Managing money, though, let's like dive into it a little bit more. Like, to do actually what? Like, how can someone manage their salary better?
I think, look, psychologically, so there's a lot of psychology behind this, okay? I think a lot of the time people get caught into just like a routine, right? We know that we've got to pay for this, and this is how normal people typically budget. You've got your rent, your mortgage, all the things you have to pay for. Then you add on your Spotify, your gyms, your all that kind of stuff, and that comes to a number. And then if that's anything less than what they get paid, they just go spend all that money,
Yeah.
which if that's what you want to do, completely fine. But every wealthy person that I've ever worked with creates a third pot. So they're thinking, okay, so I've got this much money now. How do I make sure that I can take part of this money to do something else to move me forward? And I think fundamentally that's where the psychological shift needs to be. And it's about getting people to key into, right, okay, if you hate your job, what's it going to take for you to leave? Why will you subject yourself to go into that job that you hate your boss, you hate your colleagues, you hate everyone around you? You get up on a Sunday morning dreading Sunday night because Monday morning is going to come along, you're going to go back into the same thing. So keying into something that is aspirational, something in the future, something that you want to do. You cannot get people to change and break habits without having some kind of intrinsic motivation, a reason why they want to do it for themselves. And I think that's a big proponent that is missing there. And once you're clear on that and you have the answer, what you do when you start looking at your finances and saying, okay, well, I'm spending 200 quid a month on takeaways, and I'm spending, 100 quid a month on, shopping at Zara or wherever it might be. It's a no-brainer. I need to stop spending less money at Zara, and I need to start spending less money on a takeaway. So that part of it can become so much easier to adhere to and to implement. Because if you don't, otherwise people are like, oh, but they'll make excuses. I've got to be able to have my Nando's and my chicken curry on a Sunday evening. Come on, like seriously, is your chicken curry going to make you be in a better place 5 months from now? No, like just
Isn't it weird how people like hearing you talk about this? Like we know this stuff, but when you listen to it, and I'm imagining like I'm just listening in. Isn't it weird to think most people don't know this? Like I find it really fascinating that most people don't realize that you should be saying no to all the things that keep draining your money because you've done nothing of the basics. You've done nothing, which then puts them, as you say, there's a lot of psychology behind this, right? But that mindset shift, I think, also stems from you've got to be around the right people. If you are around people they are religiously down the pub, as soon as they've got off the scaffolds on a Friday afternoon and they're in the pub, spending all their money that they've just been working for, you need to get around those people. So I think there's huge parts of, well, they don't want the detachment because then they're going to be lonely and they're going to be the odd one out. Oh, you look at you wanting to save your money and invest. So there's like this social circle peer pressure.
yeah.
But also, I totally agree because I talk a huge amount about this on all of my platforms. Isn't it weird that people only do stuff when it's already too late rather than prevention? I find it really fascinating that we don't prevent. And I use a very strong terminology, and almost like weird example, quite a strong one. Last year, no, sorry, the year before, I remember seeing a family in Mallorca, right? Burnt to a crisp, right? Even their kids, no sun lotion. I actually don't feel sorry for them if they were diagnosed with skin cancer 10 years later. I don't feel sorry for people like that because I think you knew, you should have wore sun cream. You should have protected yourself and gone through a prevention. And Jason came on one of my lives the other day, and I've repeated this exact line, and he said it is that if you've got to the age of like 35, 40, 45, and you're pushing to that 50, and you have not developed financial independence,
Mm-hmm.
fuck it. We've already sworn.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck have you done with your money for the last 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
I had a woman on my TikTok recently who put, oh, Aaron, you can't just leave your job. I've never said that anyway, but you can't just leave your job. I've got bills to pay. I'm 49 and I've been struggling to even make ends meet. And I thought, you're 49. What have you been doing with your salary for the last 32 years, 33 years? What you're
Yeah.
telling me for the last 30 years you've been in the same position? Because
Yeah.
we're going to come on to making money in a minute. But yes, I think until you have a consequence or a fear that's so deeply rooted and scares you, people don't change.
No.
I find it
The thing
fascinating.
the thing is, mate, as human beings, we're not psychologically wired to think 5 years, 10 years into the future. We're just not. These are the kind of things that you have to drill into people as kids, which is why, financial habits are locked in at age 7. You need to be having that conversation, or a kind of conversation that talks about that delayed gratification with your children when they're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Most adults only interact with financial products when they need it, and oftentimes it's too late. Because how are you going to make a good decision when you're in need of something? You're
Yeah.
just looking for a solution. You're not looking for the best
Operation.
solution. You're looking for the solution that suits the situation that you're in. And if you don't know how these things work, you're putting yourself at the mercy of the provider, the bank, giving it to you. And trust me, I know from personal experience, they're not looking after your best interest. They're looking after their balance sheet. But it goes back to this thing that you mentioned, your mates might be taking the piss saying, oh, why, you look at you saving your money, not coming out for a few beers. You fast forward 5, 10 years, who's bought a
Oh,
property? Who's
yes.
invested? Those are the
Oh,
same dudes doing the same old thing, and you've progressed. Now who's the loser? Now who's the, and trust me, I have friends just like it, where
amen.
they'll look at me and be like, "Oh my God, you've done so well." Yeah, because I had to I had to switch on at some point and be like, "Hang on a second, I can't keep doing this." But they've continued doing whatever they, yeah, have a great time, mate. Enjoy yourself. I'm gonna go do this because I know for a fact in 10 years' time, I'm going to be in a much better position where I have choices and freedom to be able to decide what I want to do, not break my back working when I'm like 55 years old or whatever it might be.
Mate, I love it because I have people in my life who are like, mate, how are you doing all this? Like, why are you just always either having a spa day or like just not do it or always at the gym? Like, what, how do you? I'm like, because in my 20s, I made some cracking decisions and I went through a period of sacrifice. So, anyone listening, the management of money is the psychology behind it. It's the total mindset shift. It's the social circle. Get around people that have a great relationship. I think we can both agree you have a fantastic book, which will be included in the description, on money. There's so much out there in terms of free resources to learn about money. And don't blame your parents, don't blame people around you. Now, making money. Let's jump straight into it. I'm just going to open the line. It's never been, I don't like the word easy, but it's never been more accessible to make significant amounts of money if you're willing to put the yards in. So let's talk about making money. We can't fall on any excuses. We've spoken this before. We can't do this whole cost of living anymore. It's getting boring now, but we can make money, right?
Look, let me just open up with this, okay? You have to be willing to broaden your horizons and to think outside of the box and not necessarily be programmed by everything you hear, see, and observe around you. You have to be willing to broaden your horizon. I'll give you this example. Like my business has been extremely successful over the last 3, 4 years. I moved to Dubai, right? And the people that I'm networking and meeting, the way these guys are making money, dude, honestly, I said this to my mate and I said this to my miss the other day. I feel like they've had a
Right.
cheat code that I've not had access to for a while. I met a guy this afternoon, extremely freaking wealthy, down to earth guy. And he's talking about, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's going to be worth this. And I'm just thinking to myself,
Where
how
have I
is
been?
it that you know, where have I been? Like I've missed something somewhere along the line. I've missed something somewhere along the line, not to know that this is even something that you can do to make money and the way they're making money. I mean, raising capital, taking a fee, and these are big sums of money, and then asking for equity in the thing that you raise money for. This, mate, like I knew that it existed, but I've never really ventured into that world. Me just being here means that as I network and I meet people, I'm open to more opportunities. You
Yeah.
have to be willing to open up your horizons and be willing to be receptible to what's out there. Believe me, there are people making some filthy, disgusting money in this world, and it's okay because they are solving problems. There are those who are doing it a bit scammy as well, and there's a few of those that I've met, but it's all about what you want to do. But the opportunities are boundless, mate, boundless.
Mate, when I listen to you talking about this, I know it, right? Even London is great, right? London's great. When you go to London, you feel the vibe, you feel the money, you see it flowing everywhere. But in Dubai, I've got a lot of friends as well in Dubai, and I know what it's like. And hearing you talk about it, you have to add new strings to your bow. So anyone watching
Yes.
this, there is money to be made, and you don't have to come from a certain type of cloth. You don't have to have had rich parents, but if you are at a slight disadvantage, like we were, where everything we've built is from the ground up, it's there to be taken though, but you have to put in the yards. And whether it's a personal brand, whether it's a business that's online, or whether it's, I don't know, a service or a product, whatever, YouTube, anything. There's so many ways of making money, isn't there? And like when you get around people like you're talking about in Dubai, and I have a very similar network in London and around the UK. But when you're around these people who are starting to talk about, well, this is the money that you can make if you put this deal together, if you do this, or if you think outside the box, or let me introduce you to this person, you do sit there and think, have I really not known this, or have I just not?
Mm,
And I think the word is you haven't exposed yourself to it. It's
yeah,
about being in the circles. In fact, before we get on to some ways of actually making money, let's just start with this. I feel that one of the biggest questions is, well, I don't know how to make money because there's all these pop-up marketing adverts on social media, do this, do that, and people get enticed into doing something what someone else is doing. I actually think the best way to make money is you just start with the network of real people who are making money. Because then I feel like you get all these ideas and light bulbs going off, and you're like, well, I can try that. But then you're building a network you can bounce off. That would be my advice to anyone wanting to make money. Build the
yeah,
network that is making money first. What's
yeah.
your
And yes, yes, that absolutely is correct. But also put yourself in a position where you're willing to learn and adapt.
Yeah.
You can be around the right kind of people, and it may not necessarily be your area of expertise, but you can learn and you can adapt. And don't get me wrong, it's natural for you if you're speaking to someone that you feel is completely outside of your league. There's again psychology around this and the fact that you need to pluck that out of your head and think, right, this person is no better than you. He may be a little bit richer or wealthier than you, but as a person, as a human being, you're at the same level. So you need to imposter syndrome kicks in, right? Should I be here? Can I do this? All that kind of get rid of that, but be willing to learn and be willing to adapt. And whatever you do, don't act like the Billy Big Bollocks because they'll see through it. Like just be you, be humble, and be willing to learn and be willing to adapt and be willing to apply yourself. That's the most important thing at the end of the day. And as you continue in those circles and you start to pick up like little ideas and little skills and little tidbits here and there, you if you're around these people enough, you'll start to learn, okay, this is how they actually apply, or this is how they actually do things, and this is things how it actually works. That right there is personal growth. That right there is a skill set that is going to pay you for years to come. But you have to be open to it in the first place and be willing to learn and to adapt and break outside of that mold.
Yeah, mate, I'd mirror it. And something I would also add off the back of that, once upon a time, it was very much like the business logo that would be making the money. That's who we trust is the business logo. I would say now, your fastest way to making money is being a good communicator and a person who can influence, because that really is everything, right? You're doing a business deal. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to tell that business deal in under a certain amount of
Yeah,
time. You need to leverage other people. You need to build networks. You need to have hard conversations. You need to
yeah,
pitch something, building a personal brand, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I mean,
yeah,
let's talk about that. Your YouTube crushing it, right? That's been a huge part of making money, right? And I just for anyone listening, I'm not necessarily just on about your YouTube ad revenue making money, but it's a downstream thing, isn't it? From being
yeah,
able to
100%.
communicate.
Yeah.
So being able to communicate is probably your quickest way to being able to make some money because you're able to, is selling, isn't it, really? I mean, that's
Yeah, I
ultimately,
mean, look, if anyone's going to approach social media, I think the important thing is to look, this is my view and my unique view. Some people will tell you that it's wrong because they're probably trying to sell you a course or whatever it might be. But I truly believe that, YouTube and video is everything. And just think about social media as it currently is right now. Once upon a time, it used to be text and blog posts. It's not anymore. It's video. Why? Because you're able to build a personal brand. You're able to grow trust with people who see you. It is hard for you to fake who you are on video. I mean, you could maybe for the first 10 videos or so, but trust me, people will see through it because over a consistent period of time, you can't keep up that act 100% of the time. The veil is going to slip if you're a bit of a scammer and a bit of a shyster, right? So, video, there is no hiding. It's full transparency. You're putting yourself out there. And if you can have the courage, and you need the courage to be authentically you, the value of what you can build is incredible. Like my YouTube channel is not the biggest on the planet, but what I have got is I've built a lot of trust with a lot of people, with a lot of brands, and brands are willing to pay me a decent amount of money to be featured or for me to feature them or explain to my audience what they do. Why? Because my audience knows that I will never put anything that's a scammy in front of them. I will never put anything that is a get rich quick thing in front of them. I will always talk about the practical things, the real things that you can do, things that I've seen my wealthy clients do, things that have transformed my finances from being homeless and being in debt to being in a position where I can move to Dubai. and I'm sweet here and I'm looking to build even further. Like the boring but practical stuff. And the people that follow me for that. And that, from a commercial point of view, is worth so much money. And
Yeah.
I say no to so many things every single day. I could have made 4x what I've made over the past 4 years if I just said yes to a few meme coins and a few, trading platforms. But that's not what I'm about. And so, look, communication and being a good communicator so you can build your own personal brand in what you know and understand and you're passionate about, that's the golden ticket. But it takes hard work and perseverance to be able to get that brand to the point where you can start to monetize and profit off it. Money is always a byproduct of good work, period. And if you start with that in mind, you're off to a winner.
Yeah, mate, perfect advice. Authentic, front load, over deliver in value, sharp every day, consistency, be the voice, be transparent. And the other thing with personal branding, which is really important, is people are just looking to build trust and relate to someone. They really want to attach themselves to people. And then the buying happens later down the road. So,
Yeah.
again, for anyone listening, if you're wondering and thinking, okay, but how does this make money? How does this build a business? It does. Like, I know it sounds weird, but if you show up, you deliver, you share a passion or a hobby or knowledge or a message of some sort, and you beat that same drum every single day from a place of being authentic and just wanting to help, it evolves, doesn't it? Like, I think the thing with
Yeah.
business, right, and making money, we think about it for a little bit too long and we wonder how it's going to happen. I have learned over time, you never figure this out. Like, I don't have it figured out. I'm sure you don't have it figured out.
Mm-mm.
It just evolves. And I think entrepreneurship, one thing I've really, I suppose, just adopted now is we make plans, right, every year. And then when the year happens, new things come into into our sort of like
Yeah.
ecosystem, and we just evolve, and then we take opportunities. So for anyone listening, making money won't just be the thing that you're thinking of now. It's gonna evolve into sponsorships and to brand deals and to collaborations, and your business model may totally change because the
Yeah.
market wants you to change. So I would say, what do you reckon? The good advice around this is that great communicator, get yourself out there, be authentic, and it all stems from value, doesn't it?
It all stems from value. I mean, look, that's the most important thing. You have to be given value at the end of the day. And I think, with money being a byproduct of the work that you actually do, it's important that you are very, very clear on what you want to deliver to people in the first place. When I started out an idea, it would be great if brands paid me so I can keep the videos free, but actually evolves past that. It evolves past brand deals. It then went into writing a book. It went into doing media work. It goes into doing private coaching with individuals, right? It goes into so many different things and doing corporate work that all of a sudden this one idea where I thought I'm going to make one money through one vertical, in addition to my AdSense, there are so many other tentacles that come off it. And you will figure it out along the way. Yes, it's nice if you have an idea at the very, very start, but be open and be flexible to what the market is telling you. Like this year, for example, moving over here, still doing YouTube, but I've just moved over to Dubai. We've been coming here for 10 years, and boy, it's been stressful. So I've just started a second channel talking about the experience of coming to Dubai. Now, how do I monetize that? I can monetize that through Telegram groups, so on and so forth, referrals. There's so much I can do. But the point is, for me at least, because Dubai has got this idea, this notion of it's all Lamborghinis and Ferraris. And but trust me, there are lots of Lamborghinis and Ferraris here. If you want to come here and you want to pursue that lifestyle, just make sure you haven't got like a Waitrose or Tesco's budget, because trust me, you're gone in an instant, right? The reality behind Dubai, though, is actually very, very different to this glitz and glamour. You can do very, very well here and live very, very nicely here without having to aspire to that part. So for real ordinary people, what does that look like? That's what I'm covering on the channel. What are the struggles? How do you set up a business? What is running a business and networking here like in the UAE? Investing in property. Is it all the hype? What kind of deals are good deals? What kind of deals are bad deals? These are all the things that I'm going to be looking at on the second channel, and that is highly monetizable. But I've just started. So it's about delivering as much value. When I moved, this is what I struggled with. This is what's caused me a pain in my butt. If you're planning to move here, be a little bit careful, maybe do this instead or research this. Value first. That's the most important thing.
And do you know what? This is a good you're a visionary, right? You're an innovator because some of you might be thinking, well, how is sharing your journey, Pete, ever going to monetize? Because what you're doing is you're actually solving a problem. Pete will be sharing a journey, but in that journey, a business is built off solving a problem, and you are solving a problem for someone that might be having or going about to go through the same thing. So you are providing answers, and everyone listening, to common questions. How do you build a business? You listen. Okay, I'm getting the same question. I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to do this. I'm going to showcase that in highly professional, high deliverable value in content.
Yep.
A to
Yep.
B. Don't do this. So love that. Let's just give some like fast little money making things. So I'll go first. I think three great ways to make money right now, certainly that I'm helping my clients with. Number one, video editing. If you are creative, I think video editing is such a remote, low entry, scalable business which could turn into a media agency. My number two, only because I've been doing it for 10 years, high ticket commissions in finance, where you raise venture capital, senior, junior debt. And for anyone listening, that means essentially I'm taking money out of a very wealthy person's pocket. I'm then helping allocate that to a certain vehicle. And then obviously commissions off the back of that. I would say the third one, hope I'm not stealing any of yours, Pete, by the way. A third one is honestly solo entry. This can just be you as a nice person who has the ability to bring people together as a communicator, paid memberships, lifestyle, mindset, overcoming certain issues in life kind of coach, bringing communities together which haven't yet found themselves, and then just starting for free and just eventually monetizing that with a 5,999, 999, and just scaling it based on the more value that you deliver. So those are my three. Video editing, I think, is great. High ticket commissions by being a good influencer and building paid communities. Over to
Yep.
you.
Pretty good. You did steal one of them, but let me just go number one, content creation, because this is what I've been doing. I mean, even out here at the moment, there are a lot of firms in the financial services space, for example, that want to reach an audience. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. So going in, and if you have the ability where you understand social media, you understand video production, podcast production, that's hugely lucrative right now. Every brand wants to have a podcast or want to have a social media presence. Providing that service is a pretty easy win if you have that skill set. High ticket sales or high income skills. One of the things that I will be going into now, which I never thought I would be doing, but I'm going to be looking at raising capital for businesses. And again, the introductory fees that you get off the back of that at very, very high levels is life changing. You do one deal a year, you're sweet. If
Mate,
you want to really keep pressing,
can
go
I
on.
just interject? So my first ever high ticket commission, my highest one when I was still in a job was £36,000. It was something like 36,840 quid or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, 36 grand. Mate, I remember leaning against my cooker like I couldn't believe it because it took like 9 weeks to get it across the line, and you don't think it's going to happen because I never thought something like that
Yeah,
happened to me. But
yeah,
I've been doing this for nearly 10 years now, and
yeah,
I've done all right off the back of it. But mate,
yeah.
you're in the right area to earn a lot of money, man.
Listen, dude, some of the ones that I've got on the go, and trust me, bearing in mind, I only flew out here finally on the 10th of December, so I've been working my socks off. But a few of the deals that are on the table right now, dude, I'm looking at it thinking, and again, I'm thinking, why have I not done this before? Like, how have I been busy with something else other than this before? So I think
You
that
don't know
skill
what you
set
don't
is
know.
really important. Exactly. You don't know what you don't know. I mean, I did know about it, but I just didn't really think, it will be worthwhile venturing. Being here has put me in that different realm of being open to things. So I think high ticket, high income skills, really, really important. Again, be willing to learn, be willing to be adaptable. This sometimes is a very, very specialized, like you've got to have your head on correctly. You've got to know how to navigate, how to talk, how to communicate, what information to give, what information not to give, how to conduct business. You can learn all of those things. But if you can key into an industry where you have the ability to have access to this type of stuff, you can kill it. Absolutely. And then third, did I have a third? I did have a third, but I've just forgotten it. I do one-on-one coaching. I enjoy doing one-on-one coaching, and it's not something you can scale. But if you have a skill set where you like to actually help people and be like present with people all the time. I did a coaching call just before this. It's a great way to, number one, build a relationship with people, get really, really good kind of rapport and word of mouth referrals, because you're doing that intimate side of the job with people. That in itself, if you have the ability to, do that consistently, is very, very rewarding. You can make some really good money for it as well.
I would actually, because I was going to go with a couple. I thought about these before, but I would also say online consulting or coaching as well. And just to let everyone who's listening know, you haven't got to be a certain type of person. Again, because I know people are thinking consulting or coaching. Oh, I've got to be a doctor or a lawyer. No, you don't. You can be anyone. If you have experience and you've delivered results A to B, and you know how to do it, and you've got confidence and you've got proof of concept, you can get online, get a Zoom Pro
Yeah.
membership, and start marketing your services and an
Yep.
online coach. Forget about imposter syndrome. It's a totally made up thing. Online coaching, I mean, mine now, I every year I've been between about 37 to about 50 grand, and I'm £200 an hour. And I only do about now five max a week. But I've always been booked over the last 2 years, 4 to 5 every week at 200 quid. It's
Yeah.
like like you say, is you could scale it, but you are exchanging a lot of time. Don't get me wrong, I
Yeah.
sit here half the time in my pants. I'm always wearing a top. By the way, Pete, I'm not wearing any pants now, by the way. But look, dude, we're gonna go into investing now.
Hmm.
So I'll throw my take on investing. Number one, your education, because you should never be asking anyone else. Pete and I are not going to tell you how you should be investing. You should be learning how to manage your own money because it's so based on your circumstances. I'm sure you've had people come into your lives. My God, I have a lot of people going, Aaron, I've got 20 grand, I've got 50 grand. I've come into a
Hmm.
property. What should I invest in? My answer is always the same. Number one, you need an emergency fund. Above that, I cannot advise you or would never tell you what to do with your money because I have no idea about you and I'm not in a position to tell you what you should be doing with your money. So invest in your education is my first thing. Let's do a back and forth. I've done the invest in your education. What would you say someone should be thinking about putting their money into? Average Joe.
Okay, before I do that, so you can get someone to tell you exactly what you should be invested in, but no one's going to like the answer because you don't want to pay for it. Go see a fucking financial advisor.
Yeah.
But when I say that, everyone's like, no, I'm not going to go see a financial advisor. So look, you're not going to have anyone tell you exactly what you should do. You can hire someone like me as a coach. I can guide you around the things that you need to know and how to make a decision. But again, you got to pay for that. So, you need to understand that. I think ultimately, if anyone is investing right now, where can you go? Let me give you a philosophy to think by. Think about the world which we live in. What do you use every single day? What are the things that you can't do without? Most people are watching this maybe on an iPhone, creating content on iPhone, sending emails on iPhone, sending text, WhatsApps on an iPhone. That's a company, Apple. Go buy some Apple stock, right? If you're driving around in a Volkswagen or I don't know, a Lamborghini, whatever it might be, they're all owned by a company, by Audi. Go buy some freaking Audi or Volkswagen stocks. Look at what you're using on a day-to-day basis. The important thing is to understand what investing is all about. Investing is about putting money into the companies that provide the services and the products that we need to live. Very, very simple. Go find out those companies and go find a way to put money into those things. You can use exchange traded funds, ETFs. I mentioned that, and I'm not going to break down what it means because that's where you need to do the education. Understand the vehicle, understand what to put it into via that vehicle, and just open an account and invest. But first, you can't do it if you're not managing your money and you're not making money.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, the way you structure this is perfect. You cannot, if you're not managing your money, you're not going to be able to invest. If you're spending more than you are earning, you cannot invest. If you're not making adequate money, you can't invest because you're not investing from fresh air. So those two things are the most important things first. If you can take care of those, you can learn investing, you can start to build.
Mate, amen to that. Because how many people would start a YouTube video saying how to make money? Well, it's like, hang on a minute. If the person's not even managing what they're bringing in or what they have or had not had, whether they've lost it or I don't know what situation they're in, shouldn't be thinking about making any more money. I mean, money is the answer to get out of situations, but you've got to, again, the psychology of what you were saying earlier, the managing of it and the relationship, that's got to be down to a T. So Yes, the
Nate,
managing.
can I just jump in and just add one thing that is really important, right? This is the thing that drives me nuts online, right? People will tell you it takes money to earn money, which is true, right? You do need money to earn money. But the amount of times that I see people caught in this loop, you're not managing money well enough. You're living paycheck to paycheck, that you're going to try and scrounge, I don't know, 20 quid to invest, but you've not got an emergency fund. So now you're still living paycheck to paycheck. You've got money invested. Something happens, you now need money. So you're thinking, oh, I put that money in trading 212. You go look at it and it's down. And you're looking at it thinking, oh my God, I put 200 quid in this, it's now worth 150 quid. And now I've got to take that out. And oh, investing's rubbish. No, you've just not done it right. Or even worse, I have people ask me, I'm going to take money on a credit card or a loan and invest it in the markets. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, why would you go and borrow money on a personal loan for 7.9% to go put it in the market that could go up and down? It's ludicrous. And that's because people are telling them you need money to make money. So any money you've got, put it in the markets, invest it because it will make more money. Yes, over the long term, but in the short term, so many things can happen. In the medium term, so many things can happen. Like you need to be able to cut through the noise. And there are too many people just hyperbole. And unfortunately, that's the sexy stuff that people pay attention to. You need to do it correctly.
Yeah, mate. I think, do you agree when I say, as a content creator, when you get this like wide perspective, like playing centre back on a football field, you see all these weird comments coming in like, you need money to make money. Well, I work a full-time job. I've got a family. You really see like people have got it so backwards. Like me and you are a minority, like
I'll tell,
really
I'll tell,
minority.
I'll tell you
It's
what it
rare,
is,
isn't
mate.
it?
I'll tell you what it is. I've said this so many times. People are becoming financial influencers, and I want everyone to listen to this very, very carefully. The reason why there are so many financial influencers out there right now is because on YouTube, you get paid the most as a finance creator. That
Yeah.
is fact. That is fact. That is why every Joe blogs that you'll see has got a finance channel telling you to invest and how to budget
10K.
and blah, 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 blah. Right? That's number one. Number two, a lot of these guys or girls don't necessarily have any experience in financial services. They've never worked in a bank, or if they've worked in a bank, they've been in compliance or IT or whatever it might be might have done. A lot of them don't actually have experience in investing, working in a discretionary fund manager or an investment house or having advised people themselves. And I'm not saying that that is a prerequisite, but it is definitely something you should look out for. There are lots of people who make fantastic content online that don't have that experience, but they try and keep it as factual as possible and they're not telling you what to do. Really, really important to note that. But I also think that because of ChatGPT and AI, anyone can be a financial creator now. All you need to do is literally ChatGPT, how to invest in S&P 500 ETF. It will give you a video script and tell you exactly what to say. And then you can just regurgitate and all of a sudden you're an expert. But you start asking questions, they could not give you an answer beyond what they've read in their script.
Yeah.
And that's the big, big difference you need to be looking for. There is nuance, and the devil is in the nuance. The things that's going to screw you over, the mistakes that you make are going to be in the nuance that they know nothing about. So the looking for someone who has experience in actually what they're talking about, like investing, is very, very important. I'm seeing so many people coming up with courses, investment courses. Dude, you used to be a freaking IT dude. Like, how do you know? And
Yeah.
you're talking about all of these things that how do you know you it's very easy to pick up the theory, but the practical is very, very different. How do you interpret risk of investment versus capacity for loss? How does it interact? It interacts differently with everyone. So you can take this very high level idea, but in practicality, how is it applied? That's important. You need to know this. But again, this is not the sexy stuff. This is the boring stuff that gives you the foundation that you need to be successful. And unfortunately, nobody really wants to pay attention or hear any of that because it's too boring.
No, and the other thing is, there's so many people that are quite naive to not, and I don't blame them, but when they see a YouTuber say creating certain content, they're not ever thinking as that creator. They're not thinking, I didn't realize that finance channel gets paid the highest amount per, on ad revenue. I didn't realize that. I wasn't thinking that that could have been a script, because they were looking at the screen, but they didn't realize a teleprompter. They don't, it is hook, line, and sinker. So for anyone listening, you have to go back to the basis, basics of emergency, private pensions, stocks and shares ISA, cash savings. It does, even people saying, well, there's no point. I still think it's important to, when I say cash savings, have just a savings account that you're just
Yeah.
putting money into,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. But
basics.
what's the alternative, mate? But what's the alternative? Let me tell you something that's really messed up. Really messed up. And I found this out yesterday from someone I was speaking to, right? And this guy, money, right? All of these channels that are talking about meme coins, meme coins, meme coins. Do you know that there are people that invest in pump and dumps?
Oh yeah.
That is that. No, no, seriously, that is their proposition. That is their investment strategy. We're going to create a coin. We're going to put in a lot of money, pay a lot of influence, a lot of money. We own the pool of it. And when it gets a certain price,
We're
off and
out.
go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. AMC.
There are people who actually invest millions of dollars in that specifically to make you the Yahtzee. And people are just like watching these YouTube channels. Oh my God, this meme coin's got up 100%. I might as well get in. Mate, you're being taken for a ride. You're lining somebody else's pocket. And the creator who's been paid to make this video is making money off you as well. But you're the Yahtzee, you're the putz, because you don't know anything about how this works. And you're just following get rich quick. Oh my God, this person made it. Most of these guys, like it was even said during the GameStop and AMC thing. A lot of the YouTubers that were doing live streams talking about, I've just made this much. They were trading on freaking demo accounts. It wasn't even real money.
Yeah.
Like, wake up. It's like, seriously, when people are telling you to do this, you need to be thinking, why? Is it too good to be true? Because oftentimes it is.
But this is why everything that we're talking about, this is why you have to do your own due diligence. You have to go away and learn about investing, making money. And it has to be, I don't think you can ever give any ownership away when it comes to finances. You have to take 100%. And I think people are also, and this is a result of poor decisions, they are looking for a quicker way. So they're hoping someone's going to give them that golden key to, well, they're telling me that this is going to be much, like you say, when all this pump and dump. I mean, my God, I had one of the first videos on YouTube that popped. I was one of in fact, I think I was the only person at the time when AMC was popping. I did a long video saying, do not buy AMC, and I got a huge amount of hate for it. But
Of
my
course.
God, how did that flip on its head?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
12-month turnaround is what I want to talk about. People think sometimes that they're lost, that it's too late, that they've got to a certain age and they don't know how to make money. They haven't added new strings to their bows. They don't know new skill sets. For me, I believe that you can turn your life around. I just think depending on the age that you're at, you need to be very more calculated with your time. If you're in your 40s, I think you need to be more dialed
Carry on,
in.
mate. Carry on.
Yeah, go on, mate. So I'm just going to line you up. So I believe for you to turn your life around financially as quick as possible, I think you need to get comfortable saying no more. You need to create a tighter circle. And I feel that the biggest thing where you can win is, number one, you have to learn to bring in more money. You have to. You can only go defensive for so long. And then secondly, it is learning to live frugally. Learn to live on less and just be content with freedom. Because as you get older, that is the goal. That's why I truly
100%.
believe anyone can turn their life around,
Mhm.
live on less, learn to cash flow, and just and learn those money management basics which we've spoken about. And honestly, you'll have a much more, a purer life. There's less
Yeah.
stress, there's less arguing. That's kind of you can turn your life around. I don't know what you've got.
100%. I would echo everything that you said there. I would, go back to the psychological element to this as well. Look, if you are 45 and you've never invested, you don't have a pension, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be 50 in 5 years' time. Holy crap, what have I done?" Like, it's completely fine. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's good. It's all good. At least you're having the realization now
Yeah.
and not at 55, when your runway is so much shorter. You still have time now. I think it's okay to realize that, okay, I didn't learn this stuff. Okay, but how do I take action to be able to give myself the best shot of some financial security 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now? Sitting with yourself and having that conversation and that thought process is difficult. It's hard. It's painful, but you have to have that thought process. So being open to it is important. If you're not willing to take that first step, don't even bother. Don't bother, because you will be able to manage money. You might go down the route of managing money and trying to make more money, but when it comes to actually doing something tangible with the money that you're making and the money that you're managing better, you're not going to be able to take that step. So it's that acknowledgement. You have to come around with it. I think that's number one. That's number one for sure. And number two is the fact that, again, you have to take ownership of this entire thing and be really, really clear. What is it that you want to work towards? Not what your mates are working towards and, your friendship circle of expecting X, Y, Z. No. What do you want to work towards? Get real clarity on that. I mean, crystal clear clarity of what you want to work towards, because that's going to help you with the what you need to do and how you're going to do it. Those would be my two most important things, because from a psychological point of view, it's all in here. You can know it. How many people do you know where it's like, you should do X because you talk about it all the time and it's common sense, but you never do it? Why do they never do it? Because it's here. They cannot wrap their head round, I know this, but why haven't I done it myself? Because there's a block psychologically. You have to figure that out. Until you do, it's like literally rolling a boulder up a mountain. It's going to crush you at some point. So you have to you have to face it head on. You have to.
This is 90% the mindset. It really is, like,
Yeah.
the psychology of it. And I think I just want to add, just before we wrap up, is that when you make more money, we've all been there, right? I think the hardest thing for people is that when you make more money and you have a good week or you have a good month or you make your first sale, you feel like you want to celebrate it. And typically celebrating it isn't just a case of a high five with your partner. It's not, is it? And I know it's hard that when you I've made some really good money this morning, and I'm used to it. I don't have any urge to spend money, because I've been so many years, I've been used to living humbly. I'm gonna go to the gym after this podcast. But so many people were like, let's go out to a fancy restaurant tonight. I've always wanted a Rolex. I've just made 10K gross. I haven't set aside for my tax yet. I haven't done my national insurance. I haven't set aside for my accountant. Haven't set aside for some miscellaneous payments and any little hiccups. Let's just go get the Rolex and I'll play catch up next. That next month might not be coming. That might not be coming of 10K.
Mate, listen, I've got he was going to hate me for saying this, but I've got a mate who is exactly like that. He will have fantastic months in his business. Oh my God, I've got this coming and that coming, that coming. Goes out and buys he goes out and buys a Yachtmaster. Through the business, the wife doesn't know. It's just like, mate, if your missus finds out, she's going to kill you. And then literally loses some clients, no more money coming in. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm now struggling. I don't know if I can pay myself. It's like, come on. Like, for me personally, I do believe I do celebrate milestones, and I think that's completely okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing it within reason. Okay. So set yourself a big freaking target. If you hit it, go buy freaking Rolex if you want to. Because like this Rolex that I'm wearing right now, this is from when I wrote my book. So every time I look at this Rolex, it reminds me of that time when I wrote that book, and it took me 3.5 weeks over Christmas and I barely freaking slept. And the moment of the fact that I finally wrote a book and I'm published with the second largest publisher in the world. Like when I started this in 2020, that was a pipe dream. So a milestone like that, every time I look at this watch, I think about that process. I think about, yes, it was hard, but I think about the reward and how it felt releasing the book. That's cool. That's fine, because ultimately it gives you confidence for that. Right, there's a next big milestone that I'm going to set myself. If I did this, I can do that. If you use it in the right way, it can be quite powerful. But doing it willy nilly because, oh my God, just made 10 grand. This is fucking fantastic. Let me just go down the pub and get pissed and pop some champagne and, get some girls. Like, don't be a loser. Like, you just don't be a loser.
Honestly, I think just from the both of us is that time freedom is where it's at, right? That's the
Yeah.
flex. It's honestly the Rolexes, the nice cars, the all this materialistic things. Honestly, it means nothing because if two people have got cancer and one's got 10 million quid in the bank and the other one's only got a tenner, makes F all difference anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter at the end
Yeah.
of the day. But what did you do with the memories? What did you do with your time? Did one have a good life and the other one didn't live? Like, manage your money, make money because money's a great thing, and then just invest wisely and put yourself, I know it's hard, but put yourself in that 15-year period ahead of time and then work backwards to what that lifestyle looks like. Any final little words of wisdom? Give us maybe just one little nugget, mate. Just a bit of a dribble.
I'm going to talk about something that you just mentioned there. Put yourself in the future. It's very hard for people to do that. Okay. So, this is what I used to do with clients. And they used to think it's a bit weird, but when you get into it, it's really, really nice, right? So, if you think about 5, 10 years into the future and you think about where do I want to be? And when we have these conversations, we talk about retirement. If you had to retire tomorrow and it's 10, 15 years into the future, transport yourself there, close your eyes and think about where am I? Am I on a beach somewhere? Am I don't know, in the mountains? I'm on the ocean. Where are you? Like, really visualize it. What's the climate like? Is it warm? Is it freaking pissing it down? All right. Who are you with? Are you with your wife? Are you with your kids, your grandkids, or are you with Joe down the pub that followed you here because you haven't invested or done anything? Really visualize it.
Who
What house
followed?
do you live?
Not in the
Are you
suitcase.
yeah, right. So, what kind of house are you in? Are you in a 3 bed or 4 bed? Is it on a high floor? Visualize it, write it down, because the more you can visualize something, you can make it real. Is why I'm such a big fan of vision boards. And if you can get it down so it's clear in your head, that is your compass. And trust me, you'll be so amazed at how easy you can make that happen. You will freak yourself out. It's all up here. Trust me. Do it as an exercise. Just sit down with yourself for 5, 10 minutes and do that and write it down. Trust me, you're going to feel so inspired, so motivated, and so pumped. And that is going to be your catalyst.
Yeah, I love that. The wise person is the one who can go to the future and work backwards. Honestly, the one that can slow time down just for a moment and work back what they want their life to look like is going to be the one that really does well. Just before we end, Pete, we've known each other for some years now. Dude, you don't
Mm-hmm.
think you've aged a damn bit.
Oh, dude, listen, I
Mate,
have.
not a
I'm
damn
starting to
bit.
notice. I'm starting
Oh,
to notice, but I am looking back over like some of my photos from like 10, 20 years ago, and I can see little things. But most of my mates are like, hang on a second, like, what's going on?
I'm not
And I'm like,
buying
you
it.
don't see it.
I am not
I do
yet.
feel it.
I am not buying it. I am. I have seen the film Benjamin Button, and I'm just saying it's a great thing. But
Oh,
dude,
cheers, mate. Cheers, mate.
mate, I love doing these with you because not only are you a good mate, but they're good fun to do as well. And the knowledge I know people are going to benefit as well. And my dad loves to listen to this. So shout out to my dad who will be listening to this
Yeah, your
podcast.
dad's a ledge. Your dad's a legend.
I loved it at the VIP. He was like, "Do you reckon it'd be all right if I go up to Pete?" I'm like, "Yes, I got to. He's not going to bite you."
Yeah,
But listen,
yeah.
Pete, my man, until next time,
Cool, mate.
I'll welcome you back for sure. And everyone
Yeah,
who's,
man.
thanks so much. Hit that like, subscribe. Pete's book will be in the description. And do let us know your 3 biggest takeaways in the comments. And I will run some form of a giveaway, which will be announced in the description. There we go.
Cool.
Everyone,
All right.
peace out.